Hello everyone, and welcome to today's lesson, which is on volume of cones and pyramids still. We're going to actually do this a little bit differently today. Rather than finding volume, for most of these problems, I'm going to give you the volume, and you have to work backwards to find a missing dimension. Maybe it's missing the height, maybe it's missing a radius or a side of the square. And so that's going to be today's goals, is to be able to find a missing dimension, whether it's a cone or a pyramid. Okay, but before we get into that, I just want to remind you of the formulas. So let's start with the one on the right here. This is a pyramid. And if you remember, pyramids are the easier ones in the fact that there is only one formula, which is 1/3 big B, or base area, times the height. All right, the one on the left is a cone. Now this one has two options, if you remember. We could do 1/3 big B H, or depending on what we're given, 1/3 pi r squared H. Now most of the time, 90% of the time or more, we're going to be using the bottom one because if you remember, big B stands for area of the base, and on cones, that base is always the shape of a circle. And so the area of a circle is pi r squared. So somebody already just plugged in big B for us, basically. Okay, so as we go through the lesson, I'm going to do one, and then I'm going to kind of have you guys pause and try one on your own. So let's just jump right in here. We're given a pyramid. Pyramid, we only have one option, 1/3 big B H. Okay, so we have to plug in everything that we're given. Normally it says find volume, but guess what? We're given volume. So instead of V, I'm going to plug in 98. I have to keep my 1/3. I have to look at what else we're given. We're also given big B. So instead of big B here, I'm going to plug in 14. And it says find height. So height is going to be our missing variable, or our missing dimension here. We're going to keep that. Now there are a few ways that you guys can do this, but I have found this way to be the easiest. I really hate fractions. Don't like it. So my goal would be to get rid of the 1/3 first. Some of you may remember how to get rid of multiplying by a fraction. You could divide by 1/3, or if you remember, another way of doing it was to multiply by the reciprocal. Because if we did that, we had a 3 on top and a 3 on bottom. We could cancel them out, and so it's gone. We would just have 14H. But don't forget, if you multiply one side by 3, we have to multiply the other side by 3, or 3/1, same thing. And so on the left side, we do 98 times 3, which would give us 294. Now, I still have not found my height yet, because it's 14H. There's my happy couple there. So now I have to get rid of the H, or sorry, the 14, and they're right by each other, so that means multiplication. So to get rid of multiplication, we divide. And if we divide 294 by 14, that would give us our final answer, which, using my calculator, the height is 21. And if we're talking about labels, we say centimeters. It's not squared, it's not cubed. When you are talking about your height, you don't say I am 6 foot 2 inches squared. You just say you're 6 foot 2 inches. We don't square anything or cube anything when we're talking about our height. It's just the unit. All right, so we did one together. Let's see if you guys can do this one on your own. So go ahead and pause, and then I'll go through it with you. All right, let's see how you did. Formula of a pyramid, again, is 1/3 big B H. We're going to plug in what we know. We know volume, which is 120. I'm going to keep the 1/3. We know big B, which is 20, and we are looking for the height. Again, I like to get rid of the 1/3 first by multiplying by the reciprocal, which is 3/1. Cancels it out. Whatever I do to one side, I do the other side. So 120 times 3 would be 360, and I'm left with 20H. And my last step is to divide by the 20 to get our height all by itself. And 360 divided by 20 gives us a height of 18 centimeters. It should have been the correct answer. All right, let's try another one. We're going to try a cone this time. All right, so this might be a little strange for a lot of you, but since we're given a cone, we have to look at what we're given before we pick a formula. So I see volume, okay, so that's one thing I'm given. And then the other thing I'm given is big B. So since I'm given big B, I use the formula with the big B. So base area. Okay, let's plug in what we know. We know volume is 242 pi. That pi is important, so we need it. I'm going to keep the 1/3. Our big B is 22 pi. Again, keep the pi, that's important. And it says find the height right here. So h is going to be our variable. Okay, so I would do the same thing again. I would get rid of our 1/3 by multiplying by 3. Cancel it out. Whatever you do to one side, do the other side. So 242 times 3 gives us 726 pi equals 22 pi h. All right, so some people get confused by this, but don't overthink this. It's not too bad. So in the last time we had height, and it was being multiplied by something. So if I look over here at this one, I had 20 times the height. So to get rid of the 20, we divided by 20. So to get rid of the 22 and the pi, I'm going to divide not only by the 22, but also by the pi. I have one on top and one on bottom of each thing, so they cancel each other out. And don't forget, whatever you do to one side, we do to the other side. All right, so over here, don't do anything with pi in your calculator. Because I have a pi on top and a pi on bottom, again, cancel each other out. The pi's in these questions should always cancel each other out and go away. So my final answer is just 726 divided by 22, which is 33, and my unit is centimeters. All right, so we did one together. I think I did them out of order, but that's okay. Go ahead and try this one on your own. It's very similar to the last one we did. Okay, let's go through the answers now. Again, given big B, use the formula with the big B. So 1/3 big B h. All right, let's plug them in here. So volume is 42 pi. Keep the 1/3. Keep the big B, which is 14 pi. And it says find the height, so that is going to be our variable. Now, I like to get rid of the 1/3 right away by multiplying by 3, the reciprocal. Cancels out my 1/3. 42 times 3, using my calculator, is 126. I still have the pi, I haven't done anything with it. On the other side, I have a 14, a pi, and a height. All right, so to get the height all by itself, I have to get rid of the 14 and the pi. So I'm going to divide by both 14 and pi, which cancels everything out on the right side. I just have our height equals. On the left side, I have a pi on top and a pi on bottom. Cancels each other out. 126 divided by 14 gives us 9. So our height here is 9 centimeters. Okay, so we have found the height of both a pyramid and a cone. Let's try to get a little bit tougher with these. Okay, so in general, the cones are the tougher questions. Notice this time on number 5 here, I am not given big B. There is no big B here. Okay, so this is where it gets a tad bit more difficult. We're still going to find the height, but this time, since there's no big B, I have to use the other formula, which is 1/3 pi r squared h. All right, so let's substitute in what we know. Our volume is 20 pi. We're going to keep the 1/3. We're going to keep the pi. Now, for simplicity's sake, I'm going to replace the r squared. I know our radius is 2, and you can plug 2 there. Maybe I'll do that just to show you. This is 2 times 2, and we're doing finding the height. Okay, so let's get rid of the 1/3 first by multiplying by 3 to both sides. And that gets rid of that. 20 times 3 is 60, so on the left I have 60 pi. Now on the right side, I'm going to put the number out front instead of the pi. So my numbers are 2 times 2. So I have 4, I have a pi, and I have a height. So I just reordered it a little bit. Now you could have also replaced r squared right away with that 4 if you wanted to. Either way. All right, to get your height by itself, we are going to get rid of the 4 pi by dividing by it. And we're going to be left with height equals, pi's cancel out. 60 divided by 4 is 15. So this answer is 15 centimeters. All right, so we just did one together. Why don't you guys pause here and try one very similar to it on your own. All right, let's see how you did. We are not given big B, so you use 1/3 pi r squared h. Substitute in what you know. So we know the volume is 24 pi. We know the 1/3. We know the pi. The radius. All right, this is where it differs a little bit from the last time. So this time we were given the diameter. Remember, diameter goes all the way across the circle. And we don't want the diameter, we want the radius. Radius goes from center to rim. And to go from the diameter to the radius, we have to divide that diameter by 2 to get a radius of 6. So up here, I'm going to plug in 6 times 6, or 6 squared. And we're still trying to find the height. Okay, so let's get rid of the 1/3 first by multiplying by 3. 24 times 3 is 72, so we have 72 pi. The 1/3 canceled out the 3. And then I'm just going to rearrange this and put the number first. So 6 times 6 is 36, and we still have a pi, and we still have a height. All right, to get the height by itself, get rid of the 36 pi by dividing by it on both sides, which cancels out 36 and pi on the right to leave us with a height of, I'm going to cancel out the pi's, 72 divided by 36 gives us 2. And our label would be centimeters. All right, let's try the most difficult one on your own. Okay, so this time I am not given big B. I am not given a radius. I am not given a diameter. So a lot of people don't know which formula to use on number 7. So I look at the question. It says find the radius. Well, I can't find the radius unless radius is in my formula. So let's use the formula 1/3 pi r squared h, since that's the one that has radius in the formula. Let's plug in what we know. We know the volume is 336 pi. I'm going to keep the 1/3, keep the pi. Don't know our radius, so that's our variable this time. And our height this time is 7. All right, so let's do this very similar to what we've been doing. Get rid of the 1/3 first by multiplying by the reciprocal. So 3. Use my calculator over here. 336 times 3 gives us 1008 pi. 1/3 and 3 canceled. Again, I'm going to rearrange this. I'm going to put the 7 in front. So the only difference here is that instead of just radius, I have radius squared. Okay, so we'll talk about that here in just a second, but this is all the same. I want to get the radius squared by itself, so I'm going to get rid of the 7 and the pi first by dividing by 7 and pi, which cancels out the right. On the left, the pi's cancel out. 1008 divided by 7 is 144, and here is the part where it's different from all the other ones, because normally that's your answer. But this is radius squared. That's not the radius. I just want the radius. So if you remember back to how to go from squared to your answer, just to the radius. To undo squaring, we have to square root. And that would give us an answer. The square root of 144 is 12. And we would label that centimeters. Now, technically, it's positive 12 and negative 12, but our shape is not going to have a negative 12 centimeter radius. So we eliminate that option. So there's would just be the positive answer of 12 centimeters. All right. I'm going to have you try one last one on your own. This is definitely meant to be a challenge. Go ahead and pause now. All right, let's see how you guys did. This one says find diameter, which neither formula has diameter, but of the two formulas, I know if I find the radius, I can find the diameter. So I'm going to use the formula that has the radius in it. Okay, so let's plug in what we know. Volume is 48 pi. We're going to keep the 1/3. We're going to keep the pi. Don't know the radius, that's our variable to start with. And our height is 9. Get rid of the 1/3 like we have in all the other problems by multiplying by 3. 48 times 3 is 144 pi. I'm going to rearrange the other side to put the 9 in front. So 9 pi r squared. I'm going to get the r squared by itself, so I'm going to divide by 9 pi on both sides, which is going to leave us with r squared equal to, cancel out the pi's, 144 divided by 9, which is 16. And just like the last problem, that was r squared. I just went r, so to get rid of squaring, we square root, and the square root of 16 is 4. Now, unlike the last problem, we were done. But if you look at the question, it says find the diameter, and we just found the radius. So we found from center to outside is 4 centimeters. If you remember, diameter goes all the way across. So I have another 4 centimeters on that side. So if I put those together, my diameter equals 8 centimeters. All right, if you have any questions with this lesson, please don't hesitate to reach out. Have a great day.